What's up, everybody? I'm Scott.
I'm Jason.
And you are listening to Liquid Kernedge. What's up,
Hey,
buddy?
I just want to wish everyone a happy Halloween. Today is actually happy
That's right.
Halloween.
We are releasing this on
so
Halloween.
we're throwing candy at the kids. I'm going to try to raid a trunk and treat. I'm doing it all. I'm doing it.
And while you were doing that, I will be at the bar watching the Cardinal game with the lights in my house turned off because I don't get a lot of trick-or-treaters, but the Cardinals are on. And as we know, I go to the bar to watch football when the Cardinals are playing.
Well, I'll tell you this. Nareem was floating around the idea of actually going to the game here in Phoenix. And if it was we had some things already scheduled for Thursday for today, so we weren't able to do it. But we were this close to going to the game.
I hope it's a fun game. I'm not going to lie. San Francisco's a scary-looking defense right now, and we're still learning. We're young. It's like we're like the little fifth grade kid taking on the senior in high school in a fist fight.
And then you add that we have Scott Kern as running back right now, so it's not a good situation.
That's true. Actually, for those that don't know, they did trade for Kalen Ballage from the Miami Dolphins this week, so he will be having a heavy workload. Kenyon Drake, that's right. Ballage is the former Arizona State running back on Miami.
Yeah, he's on Miami now as their starting running back. Kenyon Drake is who we picked up. I don't know if he'll be able to learn an offense that Andy Isabella hasn't learned in 6 months. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to learn it in 3 days or whatever, but we'll see tonight. We'll see what happens.
Wow.
That was a little bit of a shot, but
So let's change the subject before we start losing our non-sports fans. As Jason mentioned, we are releasing this on Halloween. In last week's show, we tried to do some ghost stories, but our EP, Tom, is very anti-ghost. He wants to see the science behind it. So at some point, I'm going to find a ghost hunt where they do use the tools that myself and our friends Chris and Vicky have. That at some point, I do want to get Tom on a ghost hunt and show him the science behind the actual ghost hunting equipment that he claims he needs to see to make it believable. But after the release of last week's show, we did get a note from one of our listeners, Amy, who is a local realtor here up in Kingman, that was talking about a haunted property out north of town in a little pit stop area called Hackberry. And I've been trying to do research on this haunting for her. She told me the story that the owner's telling her, and I've yet to find a lot of anything on the internet about the research about the history of the property. But he claims that it used to be a place where the local Indian tribe would hang horse thieves.
Oh.
So the guy claims that you could hear chanting and people talking and footsteps all throughout the property north of town. So I'm trying to find on my own time any kind of history on if that's actually the case. If anything happened there or what the deal is. But she said the guy swears up and down that this is the case, and I'm on the hunt to try to find this out.
Wow. I can't wait to get a follow-up on that. Thank you, Amy, for giving Scott that information. I hope that we can find something and have a really good follow-up story on a future episode.
Right? I mean, it's still fun to do the research and just find out the history about it. I mean, usually the weekend before Halloween is all the major Halloween stuff around here in Kingman, at least, all the major parties and whatnot. And our theater group did the downtown haunted Kingman tours of the weekend. We did that. That was really cool. There's some parties. We got dressed up. It was a good Halloween weekend. What did you guys do?
We bought furniture for our second living room, and now it's officially all put together, and it looks really sharp. And then we went, we watched football yesterday or on Sunday. That was it.
Wow. How the mighty have fallen for Halloween.
I know. Well, part of the problem though too is that we don't really have a lot of people that we know here. And so that is it. Now, one of the things that we did talk about doing is it happens after Halloween, but the Fear Farm is open till the 2nd. And so we talked about doing one of those fear farms here in Phoenix. Yeah, so cool. We might do that this weekend. It'll be after Halloween, but we might do it just before they close down. Noreen really likes that stuff. And, as you know, she's a really good shield. she's a good shield.
Yes. Yes. I think over the weekend we did convince our friends, Dean and Danielle, who have I'll just go ahead and call it a mansion downtown. They're about to start renovating. Convince them to do a Halloween party next year to really take full advantage of how creepy their basement is for something like that.
That would be wonderful. Oh,
here's to hoping we can do something like
it.
that.
I love it.
But if you dressed up for Halloween, are you dressing up for Halloween? Did you go to a haunted house or did you just go to parties? Hit us up. Tell us your favorite Halloween story this year on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, all at Liquid Kernedge. Or if you're going to humbug this like our EP Tom, commiserate with him on Twitter and Instagram at liquid_EP.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter. Either way you want to do it. You want to put Bah Humbug on our post, you can do it as well.
You can, but
Tom
I'll just
will
delete that shit. I'm not
gonna
gonna lie.
I mean, Scott will delete that shit. Tom will embrace it. He'll give you a Star Trek token or something like that for your troubles, but Scott will just delete.
Exactly.
That's right.
So on with the show, my friend. You had a great topic tonight.
So I've been, I've learned in this environment that sometimes watching the news too much is just overwhelming, right? So I've kind of held back or limited my watching of the news recently because it's just the same. It's the same diatribe of stuff just over and over and over again. I'm getting kind of old. But two things that have happened that have kind of caught my eye, and I wanted to get your take on it. The first thing is obviously with this impeachment inquiry, there is an anonymous whistleblower that is, they're trying to protect the identity of the whistleblower, and they're trying to give testimony for the impeachment inquiry. But then also this week, there was a book release called A Warning from supposedly an anonymous source in the White House that's in the inner circle who wrote this book basically talking crap about the presidency. And while, I mean, you can have an opinion politically, either you're for it or against it. One thing it did kind of raise in my mind is, what do we think of snitches? Like, what do we think of people who you build a trust with someone and then they take that trust and throw dirt against you, like to police officers and stuff like that? What are your thoughts about someone who like basically takes the trust and snitches or, talks crap?
First off, let me just start by saying snitches get stitches. That's
the
age-old saying.
There we go. Okay.
The age-old saying, snitches get stitches. But I think with everything else in this world, it is a gray area in this particular case. Now, when you talk about the impeachment inquiry, I am perfectly fine with being anonymous on that because that was from our intelligence field. And I think that's a matter of national security more than anything else. And also that we have a commander-in-chief that will run to Twitter and cry the second he hears something. And that could potentially put that person's life in much more danger on a much larger scale than I think even he understands. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
As far as the book goes, this is actually the first I'm hearing about this book because I don't watch a lot of news because it drives me crazy. I think they focus on everything to the extreme and they don't focus on facts anymore. So I don't watch a lot of it. I gotta say, man, I think this guy's cashing in on the shit show that's in the White House right now. And part of me doesn't blame him.
I think the thing that bothered me was more of because the way he or she, I don't know who it is. It could be Kellyanne Conway for all I know. I know that when the talk of the book was originally talked about as being published, they really thought it was either Mike Pence or Mike Pompeo. And of course they denied everything, but it's supposedly this book, it's called A Warning, and it's written anonymously. I mean, there is no name on the book, but supposedly it's a very, very angry portrayal from a person in the inner circle of the White House. And I think no matter what you think of the politics of the whole thing, it does frustrate me beyond belief when because one of the things that this anonymous writer has been trying to tell people is, I'm hoping that this book gives other people the courage to come out and say what their true thoughts are about what's going on in the White House. And I'm immediately pissed, like, well, why don't you do that? Why do you have to wait for someone else to be the courageous person? Why don't you be the courageous person and just say, this is what's going on?
All right, I'm going to play devil's advocate for that
Okay.
real quick. Chances are, if they're not doing that, they're high enough up in there to where it would cause a major storm on so many levels, because you are dealing with someone who is very unstable and very childish with how he reacts to things. And I don't think if it would go over well right now if you came out, if we'll just say for instance, if it's Mike Pence, just for example, if Mike Pence came out with this book, I can guarantee that the first thing that would be said is he's trying to undermine the president so he can become the president, or something to that level.
Okay.
Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State,
Yeah.
would something very similar. Trying for his own political gain to understanding that impeachment could be coming and trying to make sure he keeps his position with the new regime possibly coming in. So I and also speaking from someone that could be from a lower rung, and there anything from a receptionist to just an aide or what have you. I mean, that's career damning in that environment, because you don't know what those people do or how far their reach goes. And on top of that, judging by the character of the people he's put into these places, never actually meeting them, but just if I had to take my own thoughts on it, I would say that he puts people in place that are not afraid to eat fish of similar size in that pond for their own personal gain.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Because one of the things that's been struggle for me too is my initial reaction to this person is, well, I think it's like a lack of courage that you wouldn't put your name on this and say, I wrote it. This is what I wrote. Now, that being said, if I flip it on the other side, and when you have an undercover police officer that's infiltrating a dangerous organization, we don't look bad on those people who are gathering information and presenting it out. We want them to be safe. We want them to keep giving us information. So I find it that I have a visceral reaction to this anonymous person that, why don't you say your name? And yet, if it was an undercover police officer who was trying to bust up a drug cartel or bust up a criminal organization, I have no problem with them being anonymous and spilling the beans as much as possible.
So just what if, and some people see this as a criminal organization running the White House right now. What if, this is a very similar case to where this is now just a person who is basically no different than an undercover cop. They're gathering information and releasing it out to the public like that because the public has a right to know.
Yeah, maybe. But, I mean, I don't know. I guess, do you have situations where when you hear someone betray a trust like that, even if it's for the public good, that you still get that feeling of, wow, that was a snitch, man. Snitches get stitches.
Yeah, I have a hard time with that because I'm big on loyalty like that. But I also understand that if you're hurting people or can stop someone from being hurt over this, I think there's a fine line. You don't have to tell some things you just don't talk about. I mean, that's a bro code. It's a friend code. Don't air someone else's dirty laundry. But if lives are at stake here, if national security is at stake, I think you have to draw the line and say, people need to know. People need to prepare, because a lot of this world is it's drawn a line in the sand, and right now it's either you're with or you're against him, and there's no such thing as the middle ground anymore in our political
Okay,
world.
so I guess I have to take that a step further, if you don't mind. So there are situations in this world where I'm going to paint a rhetorical situation to you, so it's not a specific person. You have a really good friend, a best friend, who commits or has an affair or commits adultery on his spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Is that line black and white of what you do or what you don't do with that?
Yeah,
Okay,
actually, I
so
think it
for
is.
you, if your friend did that, it would be a very clear line of what your next move needs to be. And is
Yeah.
that next move going to hurt your friend, or is it going to protect your friend in lieu of the loved one?
That's an interesting question.
Because, see, to me, this situation for me is a no-brainer. I don't say anything. And yet, I know there's going to be people listening to this podcast who are going to say, oh my gosh, you are no better than the anonymous writer of the book. How you proclaim that you want to be on the right side of this gray area. And yet someone commits an act that we in society frown upon, and you're not willing to say anything to protect the person who has been injured, even if they don't know that they've been injured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To me, it's a clear cut. I lose a lot of. I guess there's a lot of factors that go into that. It's in that particular case. Like, I feel like I'd have to say something, or at least tell that person they have to come clean. Like, they give them the chance to come clean and do it first, or let them know that it'll get done for them, and they can decide how they want.
Would it be different if you hated the spouse? So
I don't think so.
You hate the spouse of the friend, you would still tell your friend, hey, I know what you did. You need to come clean, or I'm going to say something. Okay. All right.
I think so, because I've been cheated on. I've been in relationships where there's been a lot of questions and whatnot, and I don't want anyone else to go through that if they can avoid it.
Okay. Yeah.
That's my own personal experience. That's my own personal, to each their own. I think everybody might play that differently, but at the end of the day, I have to be able to look at myself in the mirror in that scenario and know that I did what I thought was right.
And I think that this is the part that kind of interested me about this conversation was everyone has a different area where the area gets gray. Like for me, especially with my friends, it means being a friend with them recognizes that I might have to at some point accept a secret or accept something that I don't personally agree with or I don't agree with. But if they told me in confidence or I found out, I would feel obligated as they're my friend to not say anything. It's tough. It's a tough area.
Yeah. It is. And, that particular case, especially because it's, it's happened to somebody that everyone knows somebody that's happened to, so everyone handles it differently. It's if I have to keep a secret for a friend in a different context, yeah, hey man, I'm not going to say anything. You do your thing, because if it's not hurting anybody directly, my lips are sealed.
And I guess that's the argument though I would give you, Scott, is give me something that someone would do secretly that wouldn't affect someone. I mean,
that's true.
So for me, there's a lot of things that people tell me in confidence that affect someone. Almost, I can't think of something that they do that only affects them. For example, let's say that you find out that someone is abusing drugs secretly. No one knows that they're doing it. No one knows that you're taking the opioid pills, but you're taking the opioid pills. But don't tell anyone because I could lose my job. You still feel that's going to affect someone that you're doing that, because whether it's a loved one or your family, or, maybe you're in a job where having, an addiction like that, could cause someone to get hurt or you to get hurt. I mean, what is our responsibility if someone says, hey, I got a secret, Scott, that I'm telling you? Do you have an obligation to keep that secret?
Well, first off, It's a sign that you're getting old if you're calling them the opioid pills. just get that out of the way
Those
right
dangerous
now.
little white opioid medications.
If you're taking the opioid pills, you're gonna get hooked, and you're gonna get hooked on the drugs, and gonna have to go to rehab or lose your job or worse. No, I guess with that gray area again depends what the job is, man. If you're in like patient care or law enforcement, you shouldn't be doing that. But if you're behind a desk, man, and you're crunching numbers all day, I don't care. You should get some help, and I'd advise you to get some help, but just don't let it get out of control.
Right.
I'm not going to say anything otherwise. But if you're in the medical field or the emergency services field and you're doing that you have someone else's life in your hands, that's not okay.
Yeah, no, I understand. So it's the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if you want to kill yourself like that, who am I to judge? We all have vices.
We do.
And if you want to take the opioid pills,
you asshole. See, this is why there's always that 99% likability with you and me, because every 1% you drop something like that, or I drop the Avatar, and then our friendship goes right to shit.
Right. Back to a boxing ring someday, Yeah, right. No, I think it comes down to the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and you have to look at it from a holistic perspective. And I'm not sure everyone does that. I think some people have I'm going to save the world, and if this is how I save the world, and you go down by me doing this, that's just part of the game philosophy, and that's dangerous. Those are called world burners, and I worry about those people because they get stuck in their own, what's the word I'm looking for?
Okay.
Self-righteousness. That is potentially dangerous for more than just the person they're trying to tell the truth to. Because 9 times out of 10, I would say that that has an effect that the events that if they tell some, what am I trying to say here? I'm getting.
Are you taking
myself.
the opioid pills again?
I'm taking the opioid pills to calm down. No, if they, we'll just say if they snitch out one person thinking they're doing good, there's a chain reaction that goes with that. And they might not see the big picture with that. They're just focused on one small little aspect and not see how that can ruin someone's worlds or others' worlds in a much bigger sense.
Do you think that the closeness of the relationship with someone has any difference in terms of when you would keep someone's secret and when you wouldn't? Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, if you and your girlfriend or wife, you found out that she killed someone, would you tell?
Mm-hmm. Oof. Well, as long as she didn't ask me to hide the body.
Well, that's the problem, though. If she's willing to tell you that she killed someone, she's probably thinking that you're going to help her get out of it.
Yeah, man. I don't know. That's an extreme scenario that I wish I could tell you one way or the other, but I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Noreen killed someone. I would have a tough time ratting her out. I as bad as that sounds, it's one of those things that there are certain relationships that, like, I remember when I was a kid, my mom told me flat out, I can defend you on anything that you do, except if you are using or buying and selling drugs. That's the only thing that I couldn't defend you on. But if you murdered someone, if you did anything to someone, I could stand by you and be beside you during that time. But anything with drugs, I couldn't. Mm-hmm. So if you were selling drugs out of the house, I would rat you out because that's detrimental and all that stuff. And I thought, wow, she's made a clear line in the sand. That's not gray. That's black and white. Yeah. This is what I defend you on. If Noreen came to me and said, oh my God, I killed someone. First of all, I would immediately be shocked, but I don't think I could tell the secret. I don't think I could do it.
Well, I guess not to take this to another level, but I guess here's my question on it. Was it accidental? Was it manslaughter? Was it murder 1? Was it murder 2? Like what are we talking here? Like, did she walk into her boss's office with a sledgehammer and go all Looney Tunes?
Yeah,
Or
good
did
point.
she not? Or did she not see a homeless guy walking in front of walking in a crosswalk, getting
I
off the
guess,
freeway?
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
right. I guess I would think that she did something accidental, but not. I don't know. Yeah, like if she drove over someone then ran away from the scene, that would be a lot different than I
yeah,
ran over someone, the police arrested me, I was, whatever caused this manslaughter's death. You're right, is a lot different. But I'm assuming if she's telling me the secret, no one knows, right? No one knows that the body that she killed
yeah,
someone. So in that situation, I guess it would be probably not either premeditated or not something accidental.
yeah. And a younger version of myself would have gone with the theory from How I Met Your Mother is like you don't have to tell the secret, but you have to. You're almost obligated to try and get that person to slip up every chance you get. Maybe not in the case of this murder thing, but of infidelity or something, some other random act of secret that you don't agree with. That might work, but I'm not even sure I do that
Well, how
today.
about this? In the last few minutes, I'll ask this one question: has anyone ever betrayed a
Okay.
secret from you?
Yeah, yeah, I would
And
say
when that
so.
happened, what was the response? And you don't have to get into details, but was it a like relationship over, or was relationship was okay, but we
Well,
changed it, or what was the outcome?
probably both of those scenarios. Some, depending on how deep it is, it changed the relationship, and in others, we're just not in
Yeah,
each other's lives
yeah,
anymore. And that's the sad facts. It's betraying someone's trust. It could cost you more than just a friendship. It could cost
yeah.
you a lot
And
of
I
things.
think that in these scenarios, I've only had it happen one time where someone betrayed a confidence of mine, and the worst part was is they betrayed the confidence. They didn't mean to betray the confidence. I mean, I don't think that's what they intended, but I told them something, a secret, and then they told someone else who then told it back to me that I had told the secret to them. And
Mm.
it wasn't a huge thing, but it definitely shook me that I told you that in confidence, and then you went and told someone else. And the person flat out said, I had no idea. I mean, I feel awful that I guess I trusted the wrong person on the other person's end. So, I think that healing was able to be done, but yeah, it's a betrayal when you tell a secret to someone and they betray it hurts. It hurts a lot.
Yeah, man, it does, and you have to examine the situation and decide how much do you like that person in your life, and how much do you like them at the amount of intimate knowledge they know about
Yeah,
you at that point.
yeah. I'll end with this. I'm not trying to advocate that or not advocate for President Trump, but I will say it's got to be very frustrating to think that you have an inner circle of people that you have to do your job with who are constantly undermining, backstabbing, writing memoirs, talking, chaotically. It's got to be frustrating that he
Mm-hmm.
has so many people in his inner circle that are taking every possible moment to undermine what he's doing. Even if I don't like what he's doing, it's got to be frustrating.
Well, just to play devil's advocate on that again, too, it's got to be frustrating to be doing your job and being undermined by someone that's not paying attention as much as most other presidents have, and doing things the way he wants to, on a whim, more than making educated guesses and
Right.
decisions.
But I mean, you think of other, if this would have happened to a different political person where you constantly were having leaks out of your own inner circle of things that were not going right, it would be frustrating. And I'm sure that, no matter what we think, I don't, I guess at the end of the day, I don't like the fact that this anonymous writer wrote this book for political gains and then for financial gains and then try to turn it into, I'm hoping this is the impetus for other people to come forward and speak out. Well,
well, I'm sure that's more of just their moral compass, maybe getting one last crack at them trying to justify what they did to. So, I mean, I want our listeners to tell us what they would do in those scenarios. What would happen if someone snitched on you or broke your trust on something? Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, all at Liquid Kernedge, and tell us what you do. Do snitches get stitches, or do you forgive and forget? We want to hear from you. With Tom, just commiserate about Halloween with him because he doesn't like ghosts. He is afraid of ghosts. That's why he wants to see the science behind them. I'll just go out and say it. That's his dirty little secret. I'm sure I just betrayed his trust on that, if that's actually a secret. But commiserate with him on Instagram and Twitter, all at liquid_EP.
That was awesome. Hey, great topic. Thanks a lot, Scott. I appreciate that. It kind of hit me as a double whammy this week, and I thought it'd be fun to get your intake. And as always, you always come through in the clutch, buddy.
It's what I try to do. I have to do it somewhere. Might as well do it for free on a podcast.
Hey, if you guys like our podcast, I've seen our membership is going up. We're getting more listeners. If you like our podcast, tell your friends. Tell them to listen to us. They can get us on Apple Podcasts. They can also get us up on Podbean if they want. We'd love to keep adding members. And I get all these wonderful comments from people about, we just heard you for the first time. We love you. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, we do appreciate it. It's a lot of fun to hear people actually want to pay attention to what we have to say, even if it is just pure drivel sometimes.
Well, we hope you have a nice Halloween. That was Scott.
Be safe.
Yeah,
check the candy.
Make sure there's no razor blades. That was Scott. I am
or opioid drugs.
That was Scott. I am Jason. Gosh, we can never do you guys always want to talk, and then I get a chance to do one thing in this podcast, and I don't even get to do it clean.
Quit your bitching and do it.
Thanks for listening. That was Scott. I am Jason. And as always, if you never know quite what to say, just have yourself some Liquid Kernedge.